right, here we go. Yeah. Right. Here.
3, 2, 1, crank.
And we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. From this preamble to the Declaration of the Independence to 2020, we have yet to experience these words come to life in the lives of Black Americans. From slavery, Jim Crow, separate but equal civil rights to human rights. In 2020, we still are fighting for true ownership of our bodies, minds, of our destinies. We still can't raise our voices too loud to disagreement. We still cannot have independent ownership. We still can't have and live in peace. We still can't sleep. We still can't breathe. As the pastor of Crossing Point Christian Church, I am asked and tasked with empowering people in the community through the Word of God and relevant programs. In the ministerial community, we have a saying, don't blame them, train them. So I believe we have made a fundamental miscalculation in our community today, that the oppressor, be it systems or individuals, will never freely give away empowerment away to the oppressed. It must be taken. Tonight, we will learn how to start to take back our empowerment, from the law to the police, to our finances, from our families, our men and our beautiful women, to our mental health and wellness. It is time to have the conversation. Welcome tonight. I am Dr. Craig Hayes, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you the lead organizer of tonight's event, Mr. Dwayne Clark.
Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to the conversation. We are here today, as Pastor Hayes said, and so eloquently spoke, is to empower ourselves. We have, in this times that we're in today, we have protested, we have talked and screamed loud. We have not slept, as he said, but no longer. It's time for action. No more talking. Let's just get to it. So what I would like for us to do today is ask yourself one question as we continue this conversation. What am I doing? And what could I do more? If you continue to ask yourself that question, you shall do it, and you shall act. So as we move forward today, we started this conversation because we wanted to be able to empower ourselves. So with further ado, I would like to continue the conversation, begin the conversation actually, and we're going to continue to have this conversation until we are fully empowered and take this country. So with further ado, I would like to introduce our moderators today, this evening. Dalia Jones, she's an investigative journalist with the Texas Observer, Watchdog Magazine. She covers desperately impacted communities in rural Texas, as well as Black Southern arts and culture. Her work as a movement journalist aims to help not only reimagine community engagement, but to empower our communities through reporting. I would also like to introduce Ms. Miles Blackton. She's a producer and host of KUT Radio 90.5 here in Austin, Texas, and KUTX 98.9. She's also the co-host of Pause and Play and a podcast on KUT, and the creator and lifestyle brands of Miles to Mogul. I like that, Miles. We want to join the journey. And also here to discuss our first segment called Black and Blue. You want to ask, what does that mean, Black and Blue? Well, I don't know if everyone does, but we all have someone that we know or in our families, our brothers, sisters, aunts, mothers, cousins, that's in law enforcement or in corrections. And we want to understand, what does it mean to be Black and also operate behind the blue line? But also, we want answers because we've been beaten till we're Black and blue. So without further ado, ladies, let's start the conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Dwayne. I really appreciate it. And I'm hearing a little feedback, but hopefully nobody else on the other side is hearing that. Before we actually start this conversation, I do want to acknowledge that, we do have Cecilia and Sergeant Jefferson on the panel today, but it's important to acknowledge that we don't have the incarcerated or those who have been affected by the criminal justice system directly. And so we should keep that in mind when starting this conversation out. But I do want to jump on in it. How are you today, Sergeant Jefferson and Cecilia? How are y'all doing?
Wonderful.
Good. Well, thank y'all so much for being with us. And, just to start off this conversation, can y'all tell me in about like a 30 second to 1 minute quick clip of how you got involved in the criminal justice system and kind of what you do today?
I'll let you go first, Ms. Cecilia.
Good afternoon. I actually began as a correctional with the Florida Department of Corrections and went through the ranks up to assistant warden. So I do have that voice of those that are incarcerated. I currently consult to bring programs such as housing, substance abuse, mental health treatment, work release, employability skills, vocational skills, and education for those that are returning from the criminal justice system.
Thank you. And you, Sergeant Jefferson?
My name is Sergeant Jefferson. I've been with the Austin Police Department here in Texas for a little over 23 years. And I am currently a supervisor over our community relations area. And I have gotten involved with quite a few things within this last 3 years, considering all the things that have been going on nationwide and kind of pushing the movement within our department because people are forgetting of what's going on inside. And my slogan and my motto always is, we can't fix outside the community if we can't fix the inside first.
All right. Well, thank you two ladies for joining us this evening. I do kind of want to start this conversation off by kind of painting a picture for everybody about what's happening in policing right now. We're seeing uprisings not only across the country, but also the world. And I'm curious to know what type of conversations are actually happening within your own circles right now.
In my circle, the question is, how do we balance the law enforcement end along with the community end? I won't tell my age, but there was a time when there was true community policing. That doesn't happen in the format that it was originally designated to happen. So there's this fear that I don't want to become involved. And that's the conversation that's going on. I don't want to be involved because I don't have a voice. I don't have rights. So I'd just rather stay away from the criminal justice system.
And what about you, Sergeant Jefferson?
For me, I'm having quite a few conversations within the home as well as within the community. A lot of the conversation is, how do you distinguish between the two? And for me, I am African American first. That is me. That's who I am. I work as an officer in blue. That is my job. Um, but communication between my family, we have some heated communication um, because of misunderstanding and not understanding on both sides of the playing field. So within my family realm, we do have some deep conversation. And what I try to bring to that conversation is understanding on the law end and making sure we see what the law actually states.
All right. Well, and speaking of community policing, one question that we did kind of bring up was right now we're actually seeing a moment where Black police are actually at a higher rate within the police departments than we've ever seen in history, right? Axios did a great report, and it says overall law enforcement makes up about 50% of the force in the country. Can you tell me a little bit about how that improves at a systemic level, right? Because we're still seeing violence against communities at this moment too.
For me, it should begin with leadership. That culture has to come from the top. It has to be fixed from the top. If leadership is not holding individuals accountable and making sure that all the diversity trainings that are being mandated are followed, then you're not going to change it. It's going to continue to be systemic. That attitude of us versus them. And as Sergeant Jefferson has said, I have 4 children that are law enforcement officers. And you can imagine the conversations around our table with me being in the correction side of it and trying to do those things to get the returning citizens to be productive. Can you imagine those conversations? So it has to be dealt with in leadership.
And Sergeant Jefferson?
I also agree with her. That's one of the things that we have been discussing very heavily within our department right now, because in order to make change, it has to be from the top. If you have, as we did last year, an assistant chief making derogatory terms toward African Americans, things like that, that says a lot for your leadership. And it doesn't speak well for your African Americans who are in that agency as well as the community. So it's very difficult right now for African officers to be able to come forward and say, I want to make change. I want to do something about this, because a lot of us have been for so long in fear of retaliation. So now a lot of us have just gotten to the point to say enough is enough. We're just tired of staying quiet. We have to start saying something.
All right. And we have about 3 minutes left right here in this section. And I do kind of want to wrap it up with a lasting question, but also your lasting thoughts. If we look at the history of policing, right, we know that it's closely related to slavery and Jim Crow laws, right? When we talk about policy, how do we begin to incorporate a more holistic conversation around the origin of policing in this country? And how can we reform a system that has always directed violence towards our communities in the first place?
I believe we need to start grassroots. If we don't have a voice in our communities, and it begins at our state, local, county, city, government, we have to have a voice. We have to go out and say, we're not going to sit for this. We want to be on committees. We want to be within the policy making and decision making capacities. We shouldn't be going out when something happens. We need to start now. We need to get involved with our legislators. We need to make sure that laws are actually adhered to and laws are changed that are not fair as it relates to us as a people.
All right. And you, Sergeant Jefferson.
I'll try to go real quick here. There's a lot of segments that have to come into play here. First off, training. Training for law enforcement has to change. If you're starting your training off in a lot of these academies with teaching, shooting, arresting, things like that, that's the wrong concept. As Ms. Cecilia said earlier, we forgot the concept of community service. And if you don't start off with that, that's where your training needs to start. It needs to start with community relations. It needs to start teaching that molding that into that officer before they even move to wanting to make an arrest. That also will open up areas of saying, what other options do we have other than just arresting somebody? How else can we deal with people that are in crisis or people that are in trouble other than an arrest? So I think it starts also with that training. It also has to also stem from the recruiting segment. Who are you recruiting? How are you recruiting? We've had policies put in place that aren't even allowing African Americans in because of dreadlocks. You know, things like that, we have looked at and said, these are systemic issues. These are systemic problems. This is what's allowing African Americans within the agencies. So there's so many different areas. And then the law. Yes, our law is very gray. There's so many segments of this law that needs to be revisited. And in order to do that, we as African Americans have to stick together and we have to educate ourselves on how we can revamp this. Because the deadly force law, when an officer can use deadly force, that's taking someone's life away. There has to be a little bit more concrete as to when you're allowed to do that than me just saying, I feared for my life. So I think there's a little bit more teeth that need to be put into laws of that nature. And I tend to talk too much. So cut me off if I need to.
Everything you say
but
is
those type of
well, thank you.
I can go on and on.
No problem. Thank you so much, Ms. Cecilia. And thank you so much, Sergeant Jefferson, for joining us this evening. I hope y'all stay safe out there. And
thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Got you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Cecilia Denmark, and thank you, Sergeant Jefferson, for such an eloquent conversation in regards to law enforcement. There was a lot said, but in a little bit of time. So, you know, we will continue to have this conversation more and more. We did like some of the things that you said in regards to just, you know, law enforcement and police engagement to the community. I think that means a lot. You need to know the people which you serve, right? And protect. And I think that's a good place to start. But there's still a long way to go. So let's continue to make that progress. So we're going to keep moving on. I know everybody's getting anxious. I know everyone's here to see David Banner. That's what it's about. We want to hear what Mr. Banner has to say, Mr. Mississippi himself, Mr. Godbox. But moving into our next segment is we want to pretty much talk about one of the things that's very, very important to me, and that is financial empowerment. We call this segment CREAM. Cash rules everything around me. Dollar, dollar bill, y'all. Y'all already know what it is. So what we'd like to do though is move into a video of a Black couple, and they are the epitome of Black love. They're epitome of Black family, Black entrepreneurship, and Black success. I would like to introduce the Bobbies.
I'm Bobby Mack.
I'm Bobby Mack.
And we have been asked a few questions. We are happy to guys on this platform. So, as far as business goes, why did we choose to get into business and business together? So, the backstory on that. You gonna start?
Oh, well, I don't want to steal. I mean, we figured out over a period of time, because we've been together. It's going on 15 years now, and I'm proud to say that we always wanted more. And it wasn't really like material things. It was just like a legacy and change the narrative in our family and leave something for our grandbabies and our children. And we knew we had to put that work in, just like our ancestors did. Us leaving a legacy for our kids and showing them that what hard work pays off.
We kind of knew it would take a while to take off, but we were just like, hey, you got to start somewhere. And to put in just as much work for other people as we're willing to do for ourselves, then we knew it would pay off in the long run. And it's mostly, like he said, it's not really for just the money. It's for a certain freedom that you gain and being able to be your own boss. Even though you work a lot more in the beginning, it's a certain sense of fulfillment that you started. So we started BB&B Carpet and Tile organization. It's called Tater Q and Chasers Club. And what else? Big Boy Made Apparel. So bigboymade.com. How do we balance and find harmony in our roles and within the family? And how do we define the roles within the family? So man versus woman, what he does versus what I do. I can say, speaking for me, I don't think we ever really clearly define. I mean, who's gonna do what and when. It always just depends on what we have going on and when the other person can pick up the slack. So even if it's something that maybe I'm used to doing, like picking up our son for school, then but I can't do it, it's like he naturally steps in to do it, or and vice versa. So we always are checking in with each other to kind of see what we have going on through the day.
We talk probably more than your average couple. I mean, she could call me 3, 4, 5 times a day, 6, 7, 8
communication.
times a day. We stay on top of that. But you know what, guys?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna be honest with y'all. We've done that since day one.
That's true.
And so you might be like, man, he talks to his wife. That's our thing. We always done it, and we looked at communication as the key. Check out. She was like, you gotta check back in. I need you to step up. You gotta get in the game. You the quarterback. I'm gonna be the running back. You're gonna start handing the ball off to me and all of that. So you know what I mean? Because she was a quarterback, she was handing the ball off to me. You want to, but I'm more of the disciplinarian.
He's more of the disciplinarian in the house when it comes to dealing with the kids. I'm more of the nurturer. But it's okay because we could play those roles. We both we just kind of tag team and do what we can to keep everything going and flowing. And it's not so much of we're not set on we don't have a set routine. We do what works for that moment because life changes, and especially when you're in business, business changes. So depending on what you're working on, it's going to require more time and focus. And so one of us has to pick up the slack when the other one can't. And so that's how we just keep balance and harmony.
Like she had a long day, she's gonna say, baby, I'm tired, I'm just gonna pick it up. That's automatically. And that comes with growth.
It comes with growth.
Let me tell you, I wasn't like, I'm gonna tell y'all that right now.
Yeah, neither one of us.
It comes with growth, man, and I'm gonna tell you because it was us. I love to love this woman. So when all that came into place, it all just came together like, puzzles in the pieces, man. It just starts.
How can you not just love him? Say you just love. How can you just not touch on me like that? Okay, well, I'm sorry.
I get it right.
They drank them medicated. All that can't stop thing. No job, no money, no bill pay. Nobody put down my friends' way. Free falling without these feelings. I don't know, I'm gonna deal with it. I don't know, I'm gonna deal with it. But I'm doing my best. Spending all this time trying to keep from losing my mind. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. I got no job, no money, no bills paid. Nobody puts down my friends' way. Free falling without these feelings. I don't know, I'm gonna deal with it. I'm gonna deal with it. I'm doing my best. Spending all this time trying to keep from losing my mind. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best.
All right, thank you. We're going back to the Bobbies.
That's automatic. And that comes with growth.
It comes with growth.
Let me tell you, I wasn't like, I'm gonna tell y'all that right now.
Yeah, neither one of us.
It comes with growth, man, and I'm gonna tell you because it was us. I love to love this woman. So when all that came into place, it all just came together like, puzzles in the pieces, man. And just started.
How can you not just love him? Say you just love. How can you just not love him? Okay, well, I'm sorry.
I get around.
Maybe kids watching this.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, I mean, and the love has to be there, and respect, and I think that's very important for us as well. And making sure that we have a base, our foundation. So no matter what you go through, is getting back to base. Really, the bottom line is like we just operate like a team. But at the end of the day, you playing for the same team. So what do we got to do to make sure that our team wins?
Do what you need to do to make it happen.
Right.
And
we all can do.
I do more than this. You do more. No, man. Y'all come together and build it. And like we say, man, we start at the end zone. We're trying to get to the other end. So whatever it takes.
All right. So we're signing off. Bobby Mack.
Bobby Mack.
Blessings.
Love y'all. Ain't nothing you can do about it.
All right. Thank you, the Bobbies. Bobby Mack and Bobby Mack. As I said before, that's a true epitome of Black love, Black excellence, Black family. Isn't it beautiful? But we're going to continue to move on. I know, we are right now getting very anxious for our main event. Mr. Banner's joining us shortly, and he's on his way into the Zoom. Here he comes currently right now. So what we would like to do, though, is we want to kind of set this segment up. And so with Mr. Banner, Mississippi's own, Mr. Godbox himself. Yeah, I see you there, Mr. Banner.
What's up, Mr. G?
We really welcome you this afternoon, this evening, to enjoy and to come in this conversation and be able to discuss empowerment. As we said before, we've been doing a lot of talking, brother, but what we want to hear is action. We have boots on the ground. We out here trying to make things happen. But here to help guide this conversation along, I would like to also reintroduce those who are just joining us. We have Miles Blockson, and we have Mr. Leah Jones. And without further ado, we got the man of the hour, Mr. David Banner.
How y'all doing, man? Thank you for having me.
Can you hear me? Yes, we can. We're excited to have you. First off, I just want to say that Delia and I are truly honored to have you speaking with us today. And we just want to get right into it. So, in our community, we always talk about financial freedom. But a lot of times we talk about gaining financial freedom and cover generational wealth and just talk about that as a whole. So recently there was a report that Black-owned businesses were seeing surges in demand in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement. And so many companies are now trying to keep up with the pace with that demand. And many times when it comes to Black businesses, you often hear people from our own community talk down on or speak negatively about Black businesses. Can we talk about the internalized racism when making those types of comments and setting those unfair expectations for people that look just like us?
I don't think we should even spend the kind of time focusing on losers, because you're always going to have losers everywhere you go in life. And the problem is we spend too much time. The human body, God rigged us to focus on negativity more to keep us alive. Those are the type of algorithms and things that Facebook, Instagram, all those types of companies use those insecurities that we have as animals to keep us, addicted to like buttons, addicted to fear. That's the reason why you have so much violence on TV, that you have so much violence on the internet, because people are attracted to violence and negativity only because you focus more on it, because you're rigged to protect yourself, right? So the thing is, if we are seeing these surges, if we seeing that, because it happened with my business, so many people were talking about 2020 was the worst year that they've seen ever. 2020 has been the best year of my life as an independent businessman. I have no criticism of the Black community at all. I was a little hurt when I first started my business after I decided to go independent, but I can honestly say that I'm glad that I didn't get the support that I thought I deserved because I wasn't ready for it. You know, we think that we want certain things. If I would have got those 50,000 orders a month that I thought that I deserved, me and my staff can barely handle the 2,000 a month now. So imagine if I would have got that surge of business that I thought that I wanted, I would have embarrassed myself. The truth is one of my only criticisms of our people in recent times is that we want things without the process. So many of the people who have worked with me in the past, they wanted to be me but they didn't go through the time. They didn't go through the homelessness. They didn't go through what it takes to acquire those relationships to move forward. Um, People want a diamond without going through the process of the pressure of being in a code that can withstand that type of pressure to develop into a diamond. So what I'll tell everybody that's looking at me now, I don't necessarily look at the haters as a negative thing. I use haters now as a barometer because if they're not hating, then you're not doing anything. So when I see a surge of people hating on me, that lets me know that I'm moving in the right direction.
All right. And with that being said, do you feel like we have to assimilate to be successful?
No, we don't have. The thing is, if we had us, we wouldn't need them. See, that's part of the problem. I personally believe the problem with our people is that most Black people don't like being Black. They don't like being African. They don't like where their people is from. Most of us want to be white. We scream out being Black because we don't have any choice. See, and until we really address that problem, I think it's hard for us to move forward because you can't have success in your race unless people want to live around each other. If we don't like who we are, then we're not going to shop with them. You know, when we look at the news and see something negative, if we don't like ourselves, then subliminally we think that's what we should get or that's what we deserve. We must learn to love self. We must start inward. I tell people all the time, when you pray, you close your eyes because the truth is you're praying inward. You're not praying outward. So that's where we have to start is by loving self. But what I realize is that every race has a certain level of self-hate. You know, when you look at Black on Black crime, if you would study statistically, there is only a 2-point difference between the rate that Black people kill themselves and white people kill themselves. So statistically, there is no difference. So there is no real such thing as true Black hate. What it is that we other people amplify it more and we react to it more. Our people are beautiful. Our people do support each other. The thing is that what we don't understand is we're only right around 13 to 15% of America's population. So when we look at white people and what they've done in America, we have to understand that we are a fragment of this country. But because we have allowed the English language to cut us off for our people, we run this earth. We are dominant on this earth. But because we can't communicate with others that look like us, because we have accepted this crutch that is called the English language, we can't communicate and market and love on people that also look like us that are blanketed around this earth.
We constantly empower other groups too economically. You just kind of spoke on that. How do we take our power back in that space?
Just love each other, spend with each other. You know, I mean, it's really not that hard. I spoke in Cleveland, Ohio. What is it? Night before last. And I just broke it down to them. They wanted me to speak on all of these different topics. And I went down all those topics. And I solved the problem within 20 minutes and said, let's talk about something fun now, y'all. The truth is, if we love self, we would shop with self. If we love self, we would love each other's children. If we loved each other's children as if they were family, well, when someone wronged someone else's child, we would look at it as if it was our child. See, I say this all the time. If you kill an innocent Russian child, Russians are coming to your house, not the police. If you kill an innocent Asian child, Police not coming to your house, or if they do, by the time they get there, the Yakuzas, the ninjas, and everybody else will be to hit you with throwing stars. You'll be dead. The problem is that we don't love ourselves because, again, I told you a little while ago, most Black people don't like being Black. And people get mad when I say that. Well, I say, well, turn on your local radio station. And we are some of the only people that 90% of our music is negative towards self. Look at what you say to each other. Look at who you spend your money with. You know, we are people of finances. We love money. So you love who you spend with who you love. You know, if you look at most artists, when they do their record covers, they have to stand in front of old white folk stuff in order to make them feel powerful. My last album, I got naked and stood on there by myself because I didn't want nothing to stand in between my message and my people. I didn't even put my own name on my last album. I just wanted people to know that God is within you. You know, so it's very simple. If we loved ourselves, we will bow. I do this thing where at the beginning of my speeches, I ask everybody to close their eyes. And then I ask them, how do they feel about Black people? Because the truth is, no matter how hard you try, you can't lie to yourself. Because within you is God. So when you close your eyes, you're going to tell the truth. You may not open your eyes and tell me the truth, but you know what you said in your mind. Then I turn around and ask people, how do they feel? I'll say about 87% of the people say that they don't trust, they're disappointed, they're scared of. So I said, take all of these descriptor words and ask yourself, would you shop with people that made you feel that way? They say no. I said, would you defend people that made you feel that way? They say no. I said, would you want to watch TV shows that depicted something positive of those people? They said no. So I said, well, if that is the case, we have to change the way that you feel. Because most of these—
And I'm so sorry to interrupt, Mr. Banner, because that does make me feel like a question just popped up around the family, right? When we talk about connectivity and we talk about connectedness right now we're actually seeing the Black family exacerbated in ways that we've not seen before, right? When we talk about mental health, we talk about climate, when we talk about healthcare. The first question I actually want to pick at is like, you know, we're known for thriving in a culture of togetherness, right? You're honing in on the point that in order to thrive financially, we need to be together and we need to make sure that we're feeding into each other. How can Black families ensure that we stay connected during this time and actually staying safe at the same time?
It's the same answer. You have to love family. You have to love self. Like the truth is, I said this when I was speaking in Cleveland also. If you really think about it, inherently, and this just doesn't have to do with Black people, it has to do with any human. If we would clean up our house, stepped outside and cleaned up our own yard, the earth would inherently clean itself. We point to everybody. If you can't control your kids, how can you control a class? Everybody wants to change the world, but won't change their block. Everybody wants to change the world, but you don't even talk to your kids when you go home. Just handle yours. Stop pointing and talking about that's one of the things that that's one of the problems that I have in general when it comes to the movement. Everybody wants a rapper. Everybody wants a football player. Everybody wants somebody else to do something that they're not willing to do. I said, y'all want these basketball players to stop playing basketball? Okay, that's warranted. But are you willing to take a week off work? Hell no. So until you're willing to do that with your own family, I'll tell you when I became, because if you really listen to my music, I've been saying the same thing. If you take the sex and the drugs out, I've always been saying the same thing. But when people started listening to me, because I became conscious in the 11th grade, people just don't listen, you know. But when people really start listening is when I changed me. When I started meditating, when I started working on my inside, when I started being the change that I wanted everybody else to be. So if we would do that inside the family structure, if we would take care of self, if we would defend self, then I don't believe we would have these problems.
Can you speak to us about your personal journey of mental health?
Yeah, I still battle with depression. I think every African on this earth needs some type of mental therapy. Most of the things that we battle with, most of the violence that we battle with. One of the things that I learned when I started acquiring my library, I have a breathtaking library. Like, I'm very proud of myself. I slowed down on buying clothes and Jordans and all that. And I started buying first edition books, because when I found out that America is trying to take all of the books off and get everybody online so we can all be manipulated, 1984. But the thing is that once I realized that everything that we deal with, most things that we deal with are tied to our childhood, and things that we couldn't defend ourselves from when we were children. And it's sort of like when you plant things and the weeds start growing, and they start growing, if you don't tend to them, then you end up having a forest of weeds. And that's usually what we deal with as adults. So like, that was one of the first things that I did. And most of what you all see in front of you has to do with meditation, therapy. I still go to therapy.
Come on now.
Yes, please.
And
we both do too.
And I was one of the first artists, at least from the rap world, to really come out and really talk about that. And again, people don't remember it because they only pay attention to the negative stuff. I was talking about some stuff that 21 Savage did that I was so proud of that young man, and nobody paid attention. Too Short talked about it once. He said, if you turn around and look at my music, I have dealt with a whole smorgasbord of things. But even the people who claim that they want you to do better, they don't hear nothing but the negativity. My last album, The God Box, may have been one of the most positive jamming albums of all times. Charlemagne was the first person to say it, because everybody act like they didn't hear it. But people say that they want positivity, but they don't. I remember one time Oprah Winfrey had this whole thing when she was just dissing rap. It was her birthday that night. We saw her in the club shaking her butt to 50 Cent that night. I remember that.
No way.
I remember that. Yeah, go back and look at it. I'm talking about, I didn't know Oprah Winfrey had ass like that. I was actually impressed, but that's not what we're gonna talk about.
Oh my goodness. Threw us all off with that one.
Real girls still get down on the floor sometimes.
You were acting up on a Sunday today.
You really are.
It is the Sabbath.
Hey, no, I actually think every day is God Day. You know what I'm saying?
So, David, with what you're talking about, how do you inspire people close to you to take mental health seriously?
Yes.
Because a lot of times I have to have the same conversations with my friends. I'm like, hey, go to a therapist. Even if you don't feel like you need one, just go.
And it's often known that, actually talking to close ones and actually loved ones close to you, like, actually inhibits you to go to therapy more often than somebody just like throwing up a sign or a commercial or anything like that in the first place.
Yeah, what I'll tell you all, it's the same thing with these children. People watch you way more than you ever think that they do. And we were talking about this yesterday. I had a very powerful, I can't wait till you guys see it. I had a very powerful interview with Deion Sanders. He's a close friend of mine, and he's now going to be the coach of Jackson State, and that's where I'm from, Jackson, Mississippi. So and he's about to help our people come back home, and go to the schools that are designed for us. But anyway, me and Deion was talking about the fact that good travels at the same rate that negativity does. It's just not as loud. I've even noticed in my own personal life, when I started meditating, God's voice is the softest voice. Because if God is the I am, he doesn't have to scream. I always tell people all the time, and religious folks get mad at me, like, you don't have to fight wars for God. You don't have to be an evangelist for God, because if God is the I am, we're going to see in the end anyway. All you got to do is wait and die. So as it pertains to therapy, all you have to do is be consistent. People saw you in a state of pain, and if you evolve, people will see that too. They just wait for you, because our people have been let down, lied to, and misguided for so long. That is actually the point of default now. So they expect people to switch up. They expect, I I'd never forget, man, when I was teaching school. I used to teach school in Baton Rouge. And I remember I used to come in the classroom. I really, really, used to be on the men about being better. And I had really sort of transformed the school that I was teaching at. But the worst dude in the school, I thought that I wasn't getting to him. And I had went to a homecoming game because I was still at Southern. And I got into a fight. And the little young guy came when I went back to school that Monday. He said, I told you was full of shit. He said, I saw you at the homecoming game. And that made me realize in a very small but big way that people are watching, and all you have to do, you don't even have to talk. A man told me that once white people created televisions, they took our minds away. But we haven't lost our souls yet. So with consistency, you touch people's soul because they're watching you like a television. Just stay consistent. Then they're going to come to you.
How do you stay disconnected with so much going on so that you can get your own peace of mind?
Yeah, because it's pretty hard right now, especially when virtual is the only way we can even communicate.
I actually think these times are the best times in the world for us. I'm actually glad COVID happened. I'm not saying that I like him, but I'm actually glad that Trump was the president because now the world can see the truth that we've been living with. White folks didn't think it was that bad. Remember, they used to say post-racial. Remember, that used to be their little keyword. How the hell you think it's post-racial when you not going through what we going through? That's like me telling a woman that pregnancy ain't that bad. How in the hell would I know? I think when it comes to women's bodies, men shouldn't say nothing. We should only ask questions and listen. That's the same way white folks should be about racism. You're not on the negative end of racism, so shut your ass up. Because most good white people, they don't want racism to stop. Not that they don't feel sorry for us, not that they don't feel bad, but racism does positively affect their children. If they are focusing on beating the hell out of black folks, then they white kids are safe. They're scared to say that, but that is the truth. So in me saying that, I'm glad that all of this happened. And with us going virtual, it made people hear God. There's this rapper that's called Brother Ali. He said, Banner, the reason why George Floyd's death resonated so much because people couldn't go to the movies. They couldn't go to the club. They couldn't go do all of those things that distracted them. They were forced to sit down and listen to God. See, they were forced to go into something that I do artificially. It's called meditation. So I stop myself 2 times a day and sort of put myself on quarantine. And since we won't do that in our real lives, then I think the universe put us on quarantine for real. So I'm actually happy that this happened. The sad thing is, what are you willing to do? One of my greatest friends now, his name is Derek Grace. He's probably one of the most successful Black men under 30. And he said something that was so true. He said, those of us who had independent businesses, when COVID happened, it didn't hurt us. I didn't get government funding. I took care of my own people because we were working independently already. See, we were going through hell trying to survive as an independent business, but when the storm came, we were used to it and it helped us strive. I think this is an opportunity for us to break off of the nipple that we've been sucking on for too long, and it's called America. Most people won't admit this, and I want to leave y'all with this. And this thought actually scared me, and I'm not scared of much. I said the reason why most Black people are afraid of revolution is the same reason why most Black people are scared of death. They're scared of death because they don't know what's on the other side. Death may be better than living. You just don't know. So if you think about it mentally, most Black people are scared of revolution because they don't know what that looks like. Will I be able to rap? Will I be able to play basketball? Will I be able to watch TV? What does revolution look like? So it's going to take some visionaries, some similar to ourselves, to give a picture, even if it's false. It's no different than the Cosby Show. I always tell people the Cosby Show is bigger than Bill Cosby. We didn't think it was necessary to have a family structure like that. He showed it to us. Whether people want to admit it or not, Bill Cosby is part of the reason why so many people went to HBCUs when he made The Real World. We got to give people vision. That's one of the reasons why I started a Banner Vision, and I'm going into movies and moving away from music, because you can give people words, but if they ain't never seen it before, it don't matter.
Hey, well, David, I appreciate that, man. You said an awful lot, brother. There was a few things in there we're gonna take a pen on and come back and ask you, because there's two things that I heard you say. And one, it sounds like there's accountability that needs to happen with us, right? Mm-hmm. You said something about, us being scared to be Black. And what does that look like as we govern ourselves? Should we govern ourselves? Right? Yes. Yeah. All right, then that's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying?
And protect ourselves.
You're damn right. You're damn right. Yeah. So, but check this out. We're gonna take a quick pause for a second. We're gonna come back and get into some questions around voting, because that is a hot topic right now. We've been seeing all this crazy stuff going on. You know what I mean? Right now, our president.
Y'all sure y'all want to know my opinion?
Hey, let's do it.
Let's get it.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick pause real quick. I would like to introduce. We're gonna take a musical interlude. I would like to introduce this young brother out of Chicago, Illinois. His name is Vo. He's a prolific poet, a prolific rapper. He speaks from the heart. He speaks from the streets. And I would just like to give this brother an opportunity and a platform to express himself this evening. I would like to introduce Vo.
Gratitude. You hear me, D?
We hear you. We got you, brother. Let's get it.
I appreciate it. Let's go right in. You sick and tired of feeling like you got to pick a side? While I'm at that point, I'm tired of saying I'm sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of waking up to hear another mother figure cry, all because we lost another brother, but to them it's just another nigga died. Burn the city down, hurt, so we let the beast out. Will it work? I don't know, but I know it didn't when we took the peace route, when Kaepernick was on the knee. But now we see the proof is in the pudding. But they so focused on the one that took a knee, they overlooking why that knee was tooken. And speaking of a knee, 9 minutes, he ain't even try to battle. Handcuffed, pinned down to the ground. How you treat a human like he cattle right in front of cameras. It's like they wanted us to notice it. So now that tap dancing happy nigga singing Negro spirituals is over with. A Bible or a Magnum, a Martin Luther or a Malcolm. They both had a different way of doing it, but what's the difference in their outcome? Was both assassinated still, which is why I feel the way I feel. To be an angry nigga or a happy nigga, doesn't matter, either one could get you killed. So I figure, yes, of course it has to be a safer way, like we should dress as pastors, hoping they respect us just a second faster. Maybe we should greet them with a yes, sir, master, or hit them with a show is boss. Even then they was hanging shit. So no apologies accepted here, because apologies will show you changing shit. I got so many styles, they predicting what he might spit. He politicking on that Negro versus white shit. Vo got ambition, need a leader. He's the right pick, because he could motivate them on that reach a higher height shit. A passionate brother minus the coonery. And I was effing up commas purchasing jewelry. But an intellectual brother is what I grew to be, and soon to be the Harriet Tubman of my community. Somebody tell David Banner to come and sign a brother. The south side of the Shire is where he can find a brother. Ain't no denying our vote was more than a rhyming brother, but they let these low budget videos here define a brother. Like Ivo got some modesty in him. His videos ain't got no quality in them, which makes it hard to find the quality in him. So they refuse to give it views, but what's crazy is he constantly get them. And speaking of views, social media, the modern day news, they supply us with new media tools. How could the media lose? I mean, we logging in knowing the truth, but by the time we logging off, we confused. It's too opinionated. Rumor stick of pollution, but we can share the column. We pushing like on solutions, but we can share the problem. The government involving regular people's opinions through social media got us thinking that we can solve them. Hey, to attack, let's do it. See, that's the blacks. And you know how them blacks press through it. To kill a black for no reason. If he black, just do it. Release the tapes and give us access to it. And it's a fact they do it. But lucky God anointed a few. But we react the way they wanted us to. And they releasing videos and then we act like we discovered them shits. We just discovered what they wanted us to. I'm disappointed in you. Jagging money like a hobby and shit. We think it's cute to kill each other, catching bodies and shit. A bunch of foolishness is funny. We embody the shit. From Percocets to popping mollies and shit. And we destroying generations, so I have to come acknowledge this shit. Some niggas rapping till they posse get rich. Some rappers making hella music, killing kids with the rhyme that they spit. Okay, they rich, but ain't accomplishing shit. Give them a compass and shit. Some direction to a conscience and shit. They got a dream, let us sponsor the shit. But we watered down the talent in the music. Now they seeking simplicity, overlooking this astonishing shit. Just being honest and shit. D, gratitude, brother.
Hey, appreciate it, Bo. You know it's our respect and love on that. You know what I'm saying? Hey, y'all can check Bo out at Bo Music, all on the social media platforms. You know, but let's just roll back into it, man. We still got your boy David Bounder here spitting his high five for us. So we won't get into this voting, man. There's some crazy stuff going on right now, in the politics. So, let's just talk about it. Ladies.
Well, thank you so much for rejoining us, Mr. Vanner.
Thank you.
So one of the first questions is, it's a tumultuous election out there, a little crazier than usual. What do you see as some of the main issues on the ticket this year? And honestly, at threat right now.
Well, this is what I really believe. I believe that until we know our agenda, it's similar to what the brother was spitting in his verse. It's like we are so, I don't know why we want politics to be church. We act like these people are our friends. They're not. If you notice that when most people, when they run, they address and speak to what their constituency needs are. People act like they're embarrassed of Black people. It's just like our music. They want our Black votes, they want our Black music, but they don't want our Black bodies. So like for me, it's really funny how we let these people play us. Like Puffy said something that was so powerful and Black people tore his ass up, but what he was saying was right. It was like, dude, we're not gonna let the Democrats pimp our votes. You're gonna have to give us something.
And kind of speaking on that, what do you think that are the main issues though that they may not be paying attention?
At this point, it doesn't matter because we didn't present them and they didn't accept it. Most Black people are talking about let's get Trump out of office. Even if you do that, what have you accomplished for your community? So me sitting up talking about what the issues are now, it don't matter because we didn't present them early enough. Black people have already picked their sides, and now we are voting in anger. We're voting in distress. And one of my Muslim friends told me something, and it always keeps me on point. He said, write it down on a sheet of paper. Write it down on a sheet of paper. If you write down what we are running for, what is the Black community going to get out of it? I think you'll have an empty sheet of paper. So in me saying that, I don't deal in what ifs. I don't deal in wishes. I don't deal in hope. I hate the word hope. I'm not gonna sit up and talk about it right now. But there's one candidate that we always talk about how much hope and how much of a role model. How much of a role model this person was, but our community got nothing out of it. I don't deal in hopes and wishes and stuff. That's part of our problem. I want something that is sustainable and systemic for our people.
And what does that look like to you?
Let me jump in real quick here. With David, you talk about that. So what does that look like? Because I'm kind of the same sentiments exactly, right? Yeah. I mean, voting the silver bullet. What else is there besides voting? Because right now at this point, we just left with, the less, as we always say, the lesser of two evils. You know what I mean?
And we always talk about God all the time.
Right.
I don't think Jesus would take the lesser of two evils.
Exactly. He would not at this point accept anything greater, anything less than.
But here we are. So this is what I'll tell you all. I look at other communities of people. There's little everything. I mean, little Russia, little Chinatown. I think that we have to provide for our people. I personally think the worst thing that happened to Africans or Black people in America was integration. We were not slaves, we were prisoners of war. So when we integrated, we gave up the ability to teach our own people. They're telling our children that they can't wear locks, they can't wear the natural form of their hair in some of these schools. And what can you do about it? Nothing. They tell our kids that Christopher Columbus discovered a place that the Moors and the Native Americans have been on for thousands of years, but we allow that to happen and can do nothing. So we're gonna have to, it's the same thing that I told Ohio, we're gonna have to love ourselves, shop with ourselves, provide for ourselves, employ ourselves, heal ourselves. They will let is the operative word. They'll let you have a funeral service or let you put Black people in the ground, but why don't you have organic stores where you can buy organic food? I think one of the ways that the South has let our people down is none of our children want to farm. That's what we should be doing. The people in the Midwest need to go and get some of those manufacturing plants that are shut down, sort of like the Arab people are doing in Detroit. Open those up and we start manufacturing something. If the West Coast is going to be the place where all of the STEM projects are going on and where Silicon Valley is, it's less than 2% of our people in that. Why don't we invest in that? If the East Coast is going to be what runs entertainment or whatever that may end up being, similar to what I tell people in Atlanta where I live, we're going to have to do more than want a deal and let somebody cut us a check. I see a lot of people, and I say this all the time, and I'm not capping. I may not be able to write the big check yet, but when you do something for a Banner Vision, it comes out of my account. It says a Banner Vision on the check. It doesn't say Universal. It don't say Sony. It says a Banner Vision. And I think, and if you really think about this, if we had our own communities encapsulated, I'm not saying that you don't vote, but what I am saying, if you had your own communities and you were encapsulated, it wouldn't matter what the outside world was doing if you had sustainable living life and support of self, my opinion.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and the thing about that, you see that other communities don't have this issue, right? They're not running around here talking about we got to vote, and then after that, it's done. You know, but also hear a lot that individuals, as far as entrepreneurs and people that want to start a business and things like that, is, well, I don't have the capital, I don't have the money, I can't do that. You know, so what's your response to that?
They're gonna stay broke. I mean, none of us had money. When I started my company, I literally had $100, went and bought 100 CDs, stood on the corner, sold 100 CDs at $10 a piece, made $1,000. Took $1,000, bought 10,000 CDs, sold them, took half of that money, bought a van, took the other half of that money. I stopped smoking weed. I stopped doing buying J's, and I focused all of my money. I actually was homeless when I didn't have to be, because I wanted to invest 100% of my finances back into myself. The thing is that we want to compete with white people. We would look at white businesses and we want to start off like that. I did a sci-fi movie short. It's on YouTube. It's called Walking with Gods, right? I spent $20,000 on that film. And I would hear our people sometimes saying that it don't look like Star Wars. Well, Negro, I don't have Star Wars money yet, but I have to start at some level. See, we said this at the beginning, people don't want to suffer. Suffering is part of the process. And people think that when we're suffering that God doesn't like us. No, God is just showing you the direction to go. If you're getting hurt on this side, all God is telling you, baby, turn your head. Then go this way. Then the pain will stop. That's all pain is to show you what direction, whichever side is the most painful. Well, you probably don't need to go that way.
Right.
You know, or it's showing you this is the way, keep going. My opinion. So I think when people complain, what we're really trying to do, and we don't know it, is we really trying to use some twisted pimp logic that if we complain that somebody is going to give us something, nobody is going to give you anything. You have to work hard. I'm going to tell y'all a personal story. Last week, I say about 3 weeks ago, we had just dropped our new line of clothes on davidbanner.com. Go to davidbanner.com right now. Get you some of that. Like I said at the beginning, Black people are supporting me. It's breathtaking how much, like, I have to sort of slow down on my marketing because I got to hire some more people. Regina's in there dying.
Hey, well, that's a good problem to have,
Yeah,
right?
it is. But what I was going to say is that my office flooded. My office flooded. It wasn't my fault. The people who owned the building that I was in, they didn't care nothing about it. And I could have got mad and hoop and hollered. But in meditation, the Most High brought to me, you're going to have to move right now, or your clothes are going to get soggy. Because the thing about our folk, yeah, they mad that your office flooded, but they better with my clothes I paid for. You know how our folk, I want my clothes. So what I did was I moved everything into my basement. All my staff said we with it, and they moved in my basement with us, and we selling our major clothes out of my basement until we find a new office. And I could have complained, I could have got mad and said, woe is me, because I was going in that direction. But on my old office wall, I have a saying. I said, everything is my fault, even when it isn't. Because even when it ain't your fault, ain't nobody gonna stop if it benefits them. You have to be the change that you want to be, or it's never gonna come. That's my opinion.
Right. And you spoke on suffering a few times. What does that look like? Are you talking about like maybe moving back in with your parents to save money, or like taking a hit, like not buying as many clothes and downsizing your house? Like, is that what you're talking about?
Not punching somebody in their damn face when they deserve it, because you know you're gonna go to prison or they're gonna sue you. Look, I'll tell you, Miles, one of the hardest things for me to deal with is realizing as a grown man that good or bad don't really matter. It is up to us to create a world where it matters again. But the truth is, with social media, everybody feeling like they have a voice, good or bad don't matter. That's what Trump has taught the world. It's the loudest voice. The voice that says the whatever it is, whether it's the truth or a lie, the most. I have had people to try to do things, and Shaquille O'Neal actually helped me with this. He was like, Banner, the stuff that you're going through, I go through 5 times a month. It ain't right, but you just have to learn to protect yourself. And if you really believe that the right thing is the right thing, then we have to set up a microcosm. That's what I want to do with a Banner Vision. I want to create a movie company where our children won't feel like they can't be superheroes. I want to create a company where our kid can go into an audition and know that they can get any part that's on the books, you know. But it's not up to me to sit around and complain about what white folks are not doing, even though they don't do it. White folks have historically always been the same way. So you can't blame them for being who they are. I told somebody one time, if I walked up into a snake and put my hand in front of a snake, I ain't gonna be mad because that snake bit me. I'm gonna tell myself, you a damn fool. So for us to continuously think that their system was built for us when it was built on top of us, and think that they're ever going to do anything sustainable for us when we are the blood that fuels and we are the gas that fuels their country, we're the fools. So we're going to have to create and be the change that we want to be for ourselves. Good or bad don't really matter.
And in order to create that change, do you think, and again, you know, you did kind of speak against voting a little bit about like how we have to go beyond that. You know, does it start with the vote?
Hold on. I'm not speaking against voting.
Yeah, I meant going beyond the vote.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like this upcoming election, you know, do we start there, or like what does that next step kind of look like to you?
I think we got to play this one out. You know, as long as our people are in the system, then we have to engage in it. But if we're going to engage, we are going to have to present our own people. We're going to have to literally do what they do. Find a kid in the hood and be like, because we can all see what children are when they small. That vibrant kid that everybody follow, hey, he's going to be the leader of our community. We're going to have to raise him in politics the same way that they did Bill Clinton. Go research Bill Clinton. He was picked out and groomed early in his life. So we're going to have to put money behind that kid, send that kid to the best colleges, let him know, build him in the ways of Marcus Garvey, but then maybe send him to whatever college where he can get the relationships that he needs. But let him know that he the spook that's sitting in front of the door, that you're going to have to do all of this to bring it back to our community. We're going to have to invest in politicians, because politicians are like prostitutes. And that has nothing to do with gender.
Hey,
you spend money, make them pretty, put them on the block. If they don't bring it back home to us, then we motivate them in ways that are conducive to things happening for us, right? We have to create super PACs. We have to get lobbyists for our people. We're gonna have to stop sitting artists in front of media who are not prepared. I am one of the most articulate people in hip hop history. I have lost a debate before, but not on television. I debated against Congress and I won, but I don't think that I am qualified to speak on the behalf of our people. Our people were socially engineered. We need social engineers to help us out of this problem. We need doctors. Our diet is terrible. There's so many, we need therapists. Like we said, there are social problems. So in me saying that, you're going to have to get the artist to say, hey, come listen to this, and then move out of the way and let somebody who's qualified speak for us. Think about when I'm on CNN.
So essentially what you're saying is that the artist makes it appetizing. Like, you know what I mean?
Presenting that.
I actually think artists just need to stay hell out of the way, personally. I think that people should thirst for information and knowledge so much that they want the truth and not what's popular. Because let me show you how flawed this is. And Miss Jones, I think after I say this, you're going to be like, damn, David Banner, good. Watch this. Is it not strange that our people want the person who is most popular, right? Mm-hmm. I told you before that we are 13 to 15% of America's population, right? So that means in order to be popular, who has to like you? White folks, right? Absolutely. So for some reason, we think the people who white people love the most is going to come back and save Black people. That's flawed. That's the reason why most artists don't really truly want to help the Black community, because they were able to accrue their popularity and finances with the system being exactly the way that it is. Us putting those people, if you notice, no matter how good, how much a person hoop and holler, they usually do exactly what white folks want them to do. I would say one particular person or situation, but Black folks really love that person, and I be looking at TV like, oh, y'all got duped again. So we get emotional and it'll start something. But there's a situation that happened recently where somebody actually really sold our people out, but it was done in such a cool, quiet ass way. I was like, damn, we got duped again. I really honestly think, and I mean, even if it means me too, I really think artists are part of the problem. And they're part of the problem because of who we elect to make popular. I say this all the time. If there was a chemical in the water, right, and people were dying because of the water, we want to go get the biggest pimp, the biggest killer, the biggest ass shaker to talk about chemistry. That doesn't make any damn sense. Why would you go get David Banner to talk about chemistry? He don't know. Well, I am pretty good, but I'm not the greatest at chemistry. I shouldn't be talking about chemicals that are in the water. It doesn't make sense. If you really take out the emotion and really look at it in a simplistic way, this shit is not hard.
Right.
Get the most qualified person. That ain't what we want.
Right.
So David,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, so David, how can we bring all of this together? With those things being said, how can we start tomorrow when it comes to strengthening our community, strengthening our health and wellness? How can we come in economically on top and, politically? How can we get to that place? What are our steps?
First of all, understand that God didn't build the world in a day. And if the stories of God is true, it took a little time. Have you ever noticed no matter what you eat out of the microwave is not healthy? You know why? Because science, love takes time. It took over 350 years of, I'm talking about pure pain, pure engineering, bad diets for us to get into situations. Africans didn't come off those boats. Africans didn't come off those boats acting that way. So it's going to take time to heal. But what I realized, and I realized this just recently, I said I was going to stop trying to change the world from the outside and move in, that I would have to move from the inside and move out. So I changed myself first, right? Then I started taking care of the people around me. I said, how can I say that I can change the world when all my people around me are starving? So if you notice, you look at my podcast, Dead Better Podcast that y'all can go and be a part of now. I made Regina, who actually works for me. People really be tripped out when they find out when they make an order, the same Regina that's on the David Banner podcast actually is sending you your damn shirt. Like, these people are the people who literally are around me every day that work and help build me. Start changing your diet. You start fasting. You start trying to allocate. And you could just start off with 20% of every dollar that you spend is going to go to somebody that looks like you. You start doing it. And then when you start doing it, other people will start seeing it. Like, you all would be surprised how many people who make so much more money than me are asking me, how did I start my clothing line? Everybody saying, and I don't understand this, y'all. Y'all answer this question. I hear so many people say, we watching you, Banner, we watching you. Damn it, come help me. I don't know why we sit on the sideline and we want to record. We want to look, because I really think people be waiting for other Black folks to fail. Come on in here and help me. But what I did is I stopped worrying about other people. And think about this, the Constitution of America, it was a room full of white men that got together and said, we're going to change America, right? They did not see what they wrote. They didn't see that in their lifetime or in their children's lifetime. But now with them white folks sat in that room and dealt with, the small amount of men is now affecting the whole entire world, especially our Black asses. So even if it's 10 of us getting together, because for some reason, Black folks want to see this kumbaya moment, that's something that's going to happen and that has never happened in history. It takes a small group of people who are focused and have a plan to start something that goes from those 5 people to 10 people to 30 people. Because I can honestly say my business started like that. It started with 4 or 5 orders, and my company wasn't doing well. My podcast, I didn't make money off my podcast until like after the 70th episode. I spent $30,000 on my podcast, and I didn't see money until like the 70th episode. But what I tell you is, when I stopped waiting for advertisers, and one of my friends said, why don't you just open up an advertising agency yourself? Black people love you. Ask Black people to come and advertise with you. I made my money back in 2 months when I wasn't getting money for almost a year and a half. You feel me? So it's just starting small and being okay and understanding that it literally really takes you, unless you hit a lick, 10 years to really maturate a sustainable business anyway. Just like a microwave, anything that you cook fast falls fast. If you don't have a great foundation on a house, it's going to fall. But if you spend time, make sure that concrete is even, make sure that it's in the ground far enough, and it is strong and sustainable enough, and it's built with materials that will last, that house will last.
But you know what, we gonna keep it moving. David, you said so much good things right now. I think there's one of the things that you said as far as a Manchurian Candidate, when you mentioned is going to go pick those individuals. It's a good movie. Everybody should go check that movie out. It'll tell you everything that you want to learn how to build.
Can I say something before we leave?
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you all for deeming me worthy to speak to you all's constituency. The only reason why I am popular is because Black people listen to me. And it doesn't really matter. I had to learn this in media. It don't matter about what you say, whether people hate you or love you. The only thing people want is eyeballs and clicks. So the fact that you all have allowed me to grow my popularity through your platform, that you deem me worthy of being here. And Dwayne, if we ever meet, I'll tell you one of the reasons why I decided to do this. It actually has to do with the organization that you're a part of. Some people from that organization really helped save my life. Already. And so when I find a way to help others in the way that I was helped, because I didn't get a chance to finish. Miles, if I ever see you, I'll tell you about my depression. I battled through really bad depression, and I used to think people who committed suicide were weak. I didn't contemplate on suicide, but I now know why a person would want to kill themselves. And it's not weakness. If you hate the person that you are, you have to wake up to that person every day. That's hard to deal with. You can't run from yourself. So I'm proud of you all. I'm proud of you all for allowing me to be who I am. And I only will ask y'all for one thing in parting. Y'all don't leave me alone. We have a tendency, and I really think this is because of this. Bye. I'm out. He was like, "I'm about to start again. I gotta go."
I know you was gonna get started, bro.
I was about to hit it. All right, man. Love y'all. Y'all be safe. Be good.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Hey, look, the show is not over. We're gonna close this out with some final words from a woman here from the Black Lives Matter movement from Houston. And we titled this segment called Boots on the Ground because we want to give light and respect to those individuals that are out here doing the work and putting it in. As you just seen, that came from our esteemed David Banner. But there were so many soldiers out here, so many soldiers that is doing the things that we talk about doing. Hear me say that again, that we talk about doing. Those people are actually out there doing it. So I would like for y'all to just take this moment as we go out and hear our words from an esteemed sister named Candace Weber and our moderator, Jesse X. Boots on the ground.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brother Jesse X.
Organization. We all do the.
Hello, everyone. My name is Brother Jesse X, and we bring to you another edition of Boots on the Ground, where ideas and strategies are transformed into action. And today, it is my pleasure to introduce you this sister, this soldier, Sister Candace Weber, and she is the president of the Houston chapter for Black Lives Matter. It's a pleasure to have you, Candace.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm actually the lead organizer for Black Lives Matter. Yeah, we chose to dive into a different type of power structure, for lack of a better word. There is no president in our organization. We all do the work. So we all stand side by side, each other.
Black Lives Matter, let's just jump into it. That's a phrase that has just taken the nation by storm, both publicly and privately. We hear it everywhere. Tell us more about the actual organization and how you came to become involved.
So Black Lives Matter actually was started by 3 queer women in response to my friend being murdered by cops. And Black Lives Matter, it's really, the two at the end of it is implied. So really it is about Black Lives Matter too, which we know in this society, and not just in this current political climate, but in American society from the beginning, Black lives have not been elevated, they've not been protected, they've not been celebrated. And all of those things are the offspring of one mean, nasty parent, and that is white supremacy. So Black Lives Matter, really, it's a response to death and murder and the brutality that we've experienced since the inception of this country. I'm an organizer, and I linked up our organization, Black Lives Matter Houston, linked up with some other organizations here in Houston that were fighting for educational equity. We went to the school board meeting. We told them that we were absolutely not going to allow them to vote to close Black schools. And we were there and we meant it by any means necessary. Well, they didn't like that so much. They really didn't appreciate a Black woman standing in front of them telling them what you not gonna do is mess with my kids. So the president at the current time slams her gavel down and she's like, clear the room. And we're like, no, we ain't going anywhere. We're gonna have this conversation. And so the police, HISD police, thought that they were gonna intervene. This cop starts shoving, pushing. And my thing is, like, if you're gonna handle me like that, a grown Black woman, if you're gonna handle me like that, what are you doing to my children? What are you doing to little Black girls that go to school without their parents that don't have that protection anymore? Well, so excuse my language, but that really pissed me off. I ended up getting arrested that night and going to jail. And I did not like that. Jail is not a good look, okay? But we stopped that vote. And because we stopped that vote, we kept those 10 schools open. And those kids are going to those schools right now. And Black people, men and women, our hardest fight has always got to be about Black children. That's our future. And if our children don't have an opportunity to educate themselves fully, then we'll never be competitive in this racist society. And white people know this. That is why they attack the educational system, because they want a bunch of yes men, and I say hell no to that. So yeah, your sister ended up in jail. I'm gonna fight for these kids. And
a quick question, something that kind of popped in my mind as you were speaking. First is, how do you feel about privatizing the educational system if you feel that Black children, we can't get seemingly a fair shake across the board with the current public school system? How do you feel about privatizing or even the school voucher program where we could have our own schools?
So anytime you hear the word privatize, what you should automatically think is commodify. Privatize equals commodify. Privatization, this entire conversation about school choice, that is just a backhanded way for white supremacy to continue to commodify the Black body. Now, they commodify our Black men and our Black women already in the criminal justice system. This school to prison pipeline is ridiculous, and we are feeding their greed. Where you can privatize education, what that really means is they can take a little bit of money, put up some simple structures, cart our children in there selectively. And when I say selectively, I mean they have the right to pick our brightest individuals, our brightest young Black bodies, put them in these schools, and then they get to choose the curriculum. So once we put our kids in these private schools, then what happens to Black history? When do we talk about Sojourner Truth? When do we talk about Fannie Lou Hamer? When do we talk about Malcolm X? When do we talk about Martin Luther King Jr.? And if we do get to talk about them, are we going to talk about the watered down white folks version of Martin Luther King Jr.? Because everybody want to talk about Martin Luther King Jr. like he was just like this real passive dude. You know, we don't want no problems, mass up. No, that's not him. That's just what white people are selling us, right? So they change the way our children, the information that our children are fed.
Right now, Sister Weber, we have to have you back on. If you could, just really quickly, tell us how tell us how we can become involved with Black Lives Matter, the organization, whether that's contributing money, time, what's the best place to go and sign up? What's the next step for us? After hearing this, how do we become involved?
So how do you become involved in Black Lives Matter? First, you need to love Black lives, okay? You need to love all Black lives, right? So the ones that agree with you, disagree with you, live like you, love like you, don't live like you, don't love like you. We don't blame each other for our struggles. We recognize that we are struggling and fighting the same machine. And I love you simply because you exist and your Black is beautiful. Black Lives Matter Houston, we actually have a website, blacklivesmatterhouston.org. We also have like a Facebook page that you can easily find. Just search Black Lives Matter Houston. We put out a lot of information there about things that are going on in our state, things that are going on in our city. It's easy to find us on social media if you just search Black Lives Matter Houston. But I just want to steal just one more second of your time, because I think this is the most important way that we show up for Black Lives Matter Houston, Black Lives Matter globally, just for Black lives. We need to understand that this is a time of unity. Black women do not walk behind Black men. Woo! Walk on the side of you. We understand that in a patriarchal society, men are supposed to lead. That's white folks talk. That's white people's society. That's white supremacist society. When you start to actually educate yourself about where we are as a people, who our ancestors were, we didn't kneel to a white supremacist view of beauty, a vision of leadership. None of that stuff belongs to us. Those are things that are inflicted upon us. So I challenge Black men. Charles Barkley had the audacity to get on national TV and talk about Breonna Taylor and her bad choices and how that ultimately led to her death. So you mad at us for loving Black men and being killed by the same cops that kill you? I mean, I need Black men to ask themselves, is this a real situation? Do you think this through? And the thing about it is this Black man who is influential to Black boys, he is helping form their thoughts about Black girls and Black women, gets on national TV and disrespects the honor of one of our sisters. And I say ours. Breonna Taylor belonged to both of us. Right. Black women do not do that to Black men. You know why? Because we love you. And we love you not for what you can give us, but because we are in this together. So if I'm not giving Charles Barkley anything, then I'm not worthy of it. And he thinks that he has the right to scrutinize my life. That's what white folks do to us. Let us not do it to each other. Stand up for us like we stand up for you. Shit, we've been marching. We've been marching for you. It's time that you march for Black women. Vote for Black women.
So that concludes the conversation. Please join us next time for October 25th with Killer Mike. The conversation continues. Let's take action though. Be the change that you want to see. Be the change that you want to be. Much respect. We'd like to give thanks to our sponsors, National Alliance of Mental Illness, The World Foundation. I'd like to give a big shout out to everybody who contributed. Our community organizers. I'd like to give a shout out to our moderators, Miles and Delia. I'd like to give a shout out to that organization that David Banner was talking about. The Mighty Men of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. And we out.
Yeah, sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. Yo, look. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. Smack bouts, racks on handmade new rags. Sue me, I'm rooting for everybody that's Black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.
Thank you and good night.